Hello everybody and welcome. My name is Mitchell Zaddo. I'm the Managing Principal at Sharrock Pitman Legal, and together with my partner here, Andre Ong, it's my pleasure to welcome you today to another one of our online School of Hard Knocks for stressed business people and reluctant entrepreneurs, our final one for the year. It's hard to believe we're at that time of year already, I think, isn't it? So I hope you've been managing okay in your businesses and organisations, both professionally and also personally. It's been a very trying time, but hopefully we're now moving forward and we've seen the last of the big lockdowns. So once again, we're holding this event online. We're hoping we'll be able to return to a lunchtime event early in the new year. We'll have some more details about that as soon as we can. So many of you have not been to one of our events before. It's a bit of a silver lining that by moving this online, we've been able to welcome attendees from far and wide who normally wouldn't be able to make it in person. So if this is your first time, an extra special welcome. And for those of you who've been before, welcome back. On behalf of Andre, myself and our team, we really do appreciate your support, and we're happy to be able to put on events like this for you, and hopefully you'll get something out of it. And with Lisa here today, I've got no doubt about that. So Lisa is here today now, and I'll introduce her shortly. But first, what else have we got on today? I'll briefly introduce soon our employment lawyer, Samuel, who will just provide our usual brief legal spotlight on some important considerations for employers and employees in light of the vaccination requirements in Victoria. We're obviously fielding a lot of questions and queries on that at the moment. So Samuel's got some tips to share for things that might crop up in your businesses and organisations. And as you may know, one of the most enjoyable parts of our School of Hard Knocks events is the camaraderie and networking.
Your husband might be in the corner.
So, we can't recreate the lunch bit, but we can do a bit of interacting with one another. So shortly we'll go into some breakout rooms just for about 10 minutes so you can get to know some of the other attendees and share a bit about yourself and your business. That brings me to some brief housekeeping points. First, the session is in meeting mode, meaning that you're visible to attendees. This is so we can interact with each other and also with Lisa and do some work in the breakout rooms. So while we're in this joint room, please keep yourself on mute if you can, just to minimise the background noise. And of course, take yourself off mute when appropriate, and if you're asking Lisa a question or something like that, and also when you're in the breakout rooms. When we come to the breakout rooms shortly, you'll leave this main room and you'll be taken to a room with a smaller group for about 10 minutes, and then you'll be automatically brought back into this main room. I'll provide some icebreaker questions in the chat function, so have the chat open or keep an eye on that at the bottom of your screen. The session is being recorded. If you don't want to be visible in the recording, please turn off your camera. The breakout rooms will not be recorded. It's just what happens in this main room. That's just so people who aren't able to attend can catch up on our website. And when you are in this main room, and especially during Lisa's presentation, I recommend you change your view settings to speaker view. You should be able to find this setting in the corner of your screen. During Lisa's talk, please do feel free to ask questions. Lisa's more than happy to take questions anytime, and there'll also be some time at the end for Q&A. So if you would like to ask a question, please let us know by typing your question in the chat, or at least your name, and we'll endeavour to get to everybody. So without further ado, we'll head into some breakout rooms. Here's a photo from how we would usually do this in person, literally from a different era, I think, isn't it? Next best thing is to at least spend a little bit of time getting to know each other, and to get you started, we'll put some questions in the chat. So I'll just get that started now, and we'll see you back here shortly. All right, I think we've just about got everyone back now. So hope you found all that a bit interesting and were able to share some of the good and bad bits we've all been experiencing, and know each other a little bit, which is nice to see new faces. There aren't many opportunities for that at the moment, so hope you all enjoyed that. We'll have a quick update now from Samuel Ellamore. Samuel's an employment lawyer and senior associate at Sharrock Pitman, and has been regularly advising businesses about the impact of the vaccine mandates at the moment and how to deal with a number of issues that have been arising. We've thought that seeing as these are really affecting a lot of businesses, a lot of employers and a lot of employees at the moment, and we're seeing a lot of similar questions cropping up. So good opportunity, we thought, to just give you a little bit of an overview, some things you need to know, and some tips in case you're encountering any of these issues in your workplace. So thank you, Samuel. Over to you.
Thanks, Mitchell. We're certainly having a lot of questions at the moment from employers given the vaccine mandate. So the good news is that pretty much all workplaces in Victoria now can reopen to on-site work, but there's the catch, of course, that employees need to be vaccinated, and that is causing some concern, particularly for employers with unvaccinated employees. So today I'll have a quick chat about what options are for you if that's you as an employer, and how you might manage that. But just a general comment before we start. This obviously is a general advice. If you're looking for advice in your specific situation, please reach out to us. So the obligation is on employers to make sure that they only allow employees on site if they are vaccinated. And you have the obligation as the employer to collect evidence that the employees are vaccinated, and that's going to mean getting copies of the vaccine certificates and only permitting them on site if they are vaccinated. And the law puts the obligation on you, and there's penalties for an employer who doesn't take those steps. So it is your obligation, and so it's something that you need to take seriously. This obviously raises the question, if you do have unvaccinated employees, and most Victorians are vaccinated or on their way to being vaccinated, but there's still a significant minority, but that could still be key people within your business or organisation that are unvaccinated, and that's just a situation that you're going to need to address. So what are your options in that situation? Well, if the employee is able to carry out work from home, then that should probably be your first option to consider. And so, for example, office workers, we've had plenty of experience of that over the last few months. It's much more difficult, say, for industries such as retail or construction, where you basically need to be on site. So it's not going to be an option for all employers, but that's if that is an option, that should probably be the first one you're considering. You could ask an employee to take leave, be that paid leave, annual leave, long service leave, if that's available, or unpaid leave. You would need your employees' agreement to that in most circumstances. Particularly at the start of this vaccine mandate, we did find, and we were encouraging employers to ask the employees to take unpaid leave, rather than some of the more serious consequences. Though we're also finding now that as the mandate goes on, that becomes less and less viable for employers. If you can't reach an agreement with your employee, you could treat them as being absent from work on the basis that they're unable to do their job, particularly if they need to be on site to carry out the job, or that's an important for your business. I don't actually have it there on the slide, but if there's, say, a possibility of them doing some work from home, but other work they can't, perhaps you could do a bit of a mixed approach, where, and again, it would need agreement, but where you say, we'll reduce your hours and you do so many hours from home, and we'll carve out the work that you would need to do on site. And as a last option there, as a last resort, would be to dismiss the employee and go your separate ways. If you are considering dismissal, it is important to follow a proper process. Most all awards and enterprise agreements will have obligations on you as an employer to consult with your employees about major changes to the workplace, and you also have obligations under occupational health and safety law to consult about health and safety risks. So, and look, it's just good business practice to be consulting with your employees about returning to on-site work. And there's going to be employees that have concerns from a health perspective. They only want to be in contact with others who are vaccinated. Others obviously don't want to be vaccinated. So it's good to get an understanding of where your people are at. And for those who are unvaccinated, have a discussion with them and understand what their concerns are. It's going to be important. Obviously, at the moment, you don't really have much choice because of the government mandate, but it's going to be important to understand where they're coming from if they don't want to be vaccinated. And then ask you to ask the question whether it is possible to make reasonable adjustments to keep unvaccinated employees employed. If you do decide to dismiss an employee, and this really should only be a last resort, but sometimes it's simply not viable to or reasonable to make those adjustments. Sometimes either they can't work at home or it's simply not going to be sensible for your business for that to happen. Then it's important to be open about your requirements, what you're expecting of your employees, and it's also important to apply them consistently. So that is, you treat employees in the same way that you treat everybody, and that's going to give you considerable protection if it does end up in a dispute. Make sure that you're clear about the reasons why you're requiring your employees to be vaccinated, particularly if they could work off-site, but you want them back on site, then it's important to be clear about why that is the case. And it's important to provide your employees with opportunity to receive the vaccine. Some have been hesitant, and if they know that their job's on the line, then maybe they will actually go and get the vaccine, and it's 3 weeks, 4 weeks, depending on your vaccine, as to how long before they're fully vaccinated. And we would encourage you to be accommodating of that if they are taking steps to be vaccinated. And finally, only dismiss an employee if, having gone through that process, they're still unvaccinated or they don't have a valid medical exemption. With the medical exemptions, be aware they are fairly narrow. I've seen a lot of purported medical exemptions that are not compliant. So it is important, if you do have an employee that is claiming a medical exemption, that you make sure that it falls within the scope of the rules. And finally, and it's always helpful, and we're lawyers, we advise on risk, it's helpful to be mindful of the risks if you do decide, particularly if you decide to dismiss. And the main risk for an employer would be unfair dismissal, where there's an employee who's protected from unfair dismissal. In those, we really only think this would be an issue for, provided you follow the right process. If you've got employees that can't work on site, so you're in a retail or construction industry, it's probably very low risk to dismiss somebody, provided that you've followed a proper process. But there's going to be higher risk for employees that have the argument that they could have worked from home. So that's a little bit more risk there. What are the risks? Well, an employee, if they were successful in an unfair dismissal claim, they could seek reinstatement to their original position plus the compensation for lost income between the dismissal and their reinstatement. Or alternatively, they could seek compensation for lost income, which under the law is a maximum of 6 months' pay. We haven't, to date, I'm not aware of any case that has gone in the employee's way. So employers, in all the ones that we have reported decisions for, have been successful. They've generally been larger employers. They have been in industries that have been, so they have not been office workers. They have been in industries that there wasn't really that option to work from home, and I'm sure there's plenty in the Commission at the moment that are still working their way through the system. So very much an unknown how this will play out. I think employers can take some comfort from the decisions to date, but we are in new territory. So I suppose that the takeaway there is to be thoughtful and deliberate in the way that you approach this, and be consulting and working alongside your employees and being clear, because process is critical in this jurisdiction. So if you're clear with your expectations and you have a clear rationale for that, you'll go a long way to protecting yourself.
Thank you very much, Samuel. Yeah, it is a complex area, everybody, and still developing quite rapidly. So if you do have any queries about your particular situation, do feel free to get in touch. We're always happy to have a quick chat and make sure you're on the right track. We don't really have a lot of time for questions of Samuel today, but a quick one has come through about whether an individual can refuse to share their vaccination status selectively. I'm not quite sure what you mean by selectively, but generally, no, they can't refuse to share their vaccination status, because you're obligated to make sure that you only allow people back if they are vaccinated. So if somebody is refusing to disclose whether they're vaccinated or not, you as the employer won't be able to comply with your obligations to make sure you've only got vaccinated team members back. So I would suggest you may need to consider whether you allow that person to come back if they can't satisfy you that they are being vaccinated. And I would recommend insisting on the certificate, not just their word for it. So hope that's answered that question, but yeah, do feel free to get in touch. Thank you again, Samuel. That's very helpful. So now it's my great pleasure to introduce our special guest today, Lisa McInnes-Smith. Lisa's background is in sports psychology and human performance, so she's an expert on peak performance, what it takes to shift an attitude, shift direction, shift behaviour, or shift outcomes. Lisa has presented to more than 1 million people across 22 countries and shared the stage with American presidents, vice president, and a host of celebrity entertainers. She's also the host of 7 best-selling books. Lisa was the first person outside the US to be inducted to the International Speaker Hall of Fame, the highest accolade in the speaking world. So for us today, Lisa will be sharing her ideas about how to add energy and pizzazz into the places we feel stuck, and focusing on practical things for flourishing and thriving through the challenges we've all been facing. I think we can all do with some ideas about that at this time of year, after the year that we've had. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Lisa, and I will just stop sharing my screen. And yeah, no, it's just maybe go to the button up in the top corner and go on speaker view so that you can see Lisa and during the presentation a bit better. So thank you, Lisa, over to you.
Thank you, Mitchell. Hi, everybody. Great to be with you today. Thank you. It's lovely to get a wave. And I know that some of you might not want to be on screen all the time, but if at some stage you can pop your face up and say hi, especially when we're doing a couple of the activities, that would be fantastic. It's a delight to be able to do this today, because I think this is needed more than ever right now. This season of life, we need to do things a little bit different than we've done before. And yes, I'm a high performance expert in the sports psychology because I come from a family of professional tennis players, both brothers plus my dad. So I grew up in a world really of high performing men, athletes all around me. And fortunately for me, my mother was a very clever businesswoman and she sustained the process. So it was a very blessed upbringing. A little background, I have 3 children. I have 1 husband and I play A-grade tennis on a Thursday usually. And it's something that creating a lifestyle as a businesswoman has been really important, figuring out what's important. And you know, I mean, we're all leading people, aren't we, somewhere? So some of us are leading people on and some are leading people astray. I mean, our idea here is to lead ourselves and others onwards and upwards. And sometimes we need to stop and go, where have I led myself over the last 90 days? Because I've got to say, influence is more caught than taught. In other words, people catch whatever you're doing, saying, living, people catch it from you. And I guess a good question would be, is what you've got right now worth catching? Yeah. It's like the way you're doing life, the way you're doing family life, and the way you're doing your well-being, your health, the hobbies, anything that you're pursuing. Is it something that you're living in such a way that people are saying, oh, I really love it, love the way he's doing life. There's something about being with him or her that just, there's a spillover effect. So we'd love you to start thinking about, does the way I live exemplify what I want to exemplify? You know, and how contagious, I mean, I'm not sure contagious is a good word at the moment, really, but how contagious are you? So today, I'm actually going to do a couple of things with you. I'm going to teach you a few new skills. I'm going to teach you some high-performing habits. I'm going to teach you how to get rid of some low-value habits. And I'm going to help you to start thinking about what you're shaping for yourself in 2022. And, you know, we know that goal setting is important, but people generally are not great at setting goals for all the different parts of their life. I mean, they're usually good at setting goals for business. And some are good at setting goals for a weight loss or something specific. But when I'm doing my coaching with clients and we draw a full circle and divide it into 8, and we just mark where in each area they're progressing. Like, you know, are they a 3 out of 10, a 8 out of 10? And we start to realise really fast that people are excellent in some areas of their life and doing very poorly in other areas of their life. And that's not the way they want the future to be. It's just the fact that there's a lot of energy going into certain sections of your life. And so I want to just have a little look at what it is that you're doing. But before we do that, I've got a question. Are you fun to live with? Are you fun to work with? Yeah, it's an interesting question, isn't it? Maybe you're not the right people to be asking. Maybe I should be asking your colleagues, your family. Could you be more fun than what you are right now? You know, some people say to me, I'm not sure, Lisa, if I'm fun to live with. So one thing you could do is just look at the faces on the screen that you can see and put up your hand if you think you're more fun than they are. Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for everyone being on the screen. Because fun is a relative thing, and certain people bring joy into the workplace with them. And look, a good way to test this a little bit is to think to yourself, when you arrive either in the workplace or arrive home to your family, like, do you bring a bit of sunshine with you? Or do you just suck all the oxygen out of the air? You know, are people happier when you arrive and you greet them, or are people happier when you leave? Because I often think that that's a very good way to judge. Are people hoping you're going to be around them? And I want you to stop and think, if I gave myself a rating out of 10 on how much fun I am to live with, how much fun are you really? Now, I've got to say, lawyers aren't particularly known for their fun by reputation, but I've found lawyers to be incredibly funny and fun to be around. And would anyone like to agree with that, that lawyers are really fun? Give me a wave. Thank you, Andre. Is you see that it's not the occupation, it's how you turn up every day. And here's a good question. Any of you in relationship? Anyone got a marriage or a serious relationship? Give me a wave. Yeah, they're still popular, aren't they? And does anyone have any kids? Come on, give me a wave if you've got any kids. Isn't it amazing that they're still popular? It's that we continue to build this family life. But how would your family describe you? Are you fun to live with? Are you a joy to be around? Do you bring a sense of playfulness? Are you a bit serious, very intense? And remember, it's just what you've got in the habit of doing. It's not that anybody in any particular way of life has a set of traits that goes with them. I mean, people often assign a whole lot of traits to accountants, but it's not true either, because that's as a diverse a group as people as any as we find. And we've got to figure out with ourselves, what do I want to be known for, and what's spilling out over the top of me? Do you know, it's like, what are people just feeling when I'm around? And I would love you to have a little go at exemplifying this. I'm actually going to teach you a new skill. And the reason I teach you a new skill is, one, because when you learn new things, you get smarter. And, you know, I know we've got a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners here today. And if you're not doing new things, you're not getting smarter. But if you do hard new things, I mean, it's exponential growth. So to do something that's just a little bit challenging is an excellent procedure. So what I would love to do is just teach you this little 4-step skill. So if any of you are there and you're willing to put your screen on, this would be a great time to put your screen on. Thank you very much to Lara for joining in. I really appreciate it. It's a great way to be able to learn together. Just to take a couple of moments, and because I want you to do this with me. And it's great if you can be watching others as well. You might push yourself back a little bit from your seat so you've got a little bit of space. What you're going to do is you're going to do 4 steps. Hi, Linda. Thank you. And Trang, hi. So we're going to do this. We're going to slap on the table or on your legs, depending on where you are. Slap and then clap. Then put your right hand on your nose and your left hand simply across the body onto your ear. Now what we're doing is a left and right brain challenge. Centre of the body, ear, and then across to the ear. Now we're going to reverse it, because when you challenge the other way, it makes the brain work harder. So here we go. We slap, we clap, and left hand nose and right hand ear. Left hand nose, that's it. Now, the reason we take the hand that's going on the ear around the outside is that when we speed up, we don't want you to take yourself out as you come in underneath. So we're going to do it 6 times, and we're going to start with the right hand on the nose and the left hand on the ear, and then we're going to swap. And all I want you to do is to persevere, to get right through to the 6 attempts, all right? Here we go, all together. Ready, and slap, clap, right hand nose, left hand ear, slap, clap, left hand nose, right hand ear, slap, clap, right hand nose, left hand ear, slap, clap, left hand nose, right. 2 more, come on, slap, clap, right hand nose, left, and slap, clap, left hand nose, right. Good, 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 good. Now, question. When you were doing it, what did you say to yourself? One of the most powerful things of high performance is the conversation you have with yourself in the middle of doing something difficult. And for some of you, it didn't look too difficult. For some of you, it looked like, yeah, just got it straight away. Some of you were so intensely concentrating. You were saying the words to yourself. You were making sure you got the right space. And some didn't get many parts of it. So we've got this different ranking going. We've got people that just get all of it. We've got people that got a little of it. And then we've got people that get none of it. Question, how do we find a way to improve fast in our world? This is just a little example. How do you improve fast? I mean, would you mind just putting in the chat? If you're going to actually progress fast, you're going to look for quick improvement. Maybe it's in your marriage, in your parenting, it's in your workplace, it's in your health. What do we do if we need to improve fast? Give me a couple of ideas. It's interesting, isn't it? What do I do? Well, do you coach yourself? Like, you know, are you cheering yourself on?
Practice often.
Yeah, practice often. Practice. So we're talking about repetition.
Indy says practice, invest more time to learn.
Oh yeah, invest more time to learn. Practice, practice. We're going a few practices. Invest more time to learn. And somebody here, Mitchell's got the word that I want, focus. For high performance, we just focus on one part of the activity. So we just find a way to go, all right, I need to focus on one part so I can build on it. So we're going to redo the activity again, but we're going to do it with focus. And I want you just to think, all right, where will I focus? Step 1, 2, 3, or 4. Come on, where would you focus? Which one? Just hold up fingers. 1, 2, 3, or 4. 4 is popular, hey? 3. Well, three's more popular. Thank you. I actually think if you can find the nose, now most people can find their nose. Well, interestingly enough, most people can find their nose until they're learning that activity. Because quite a few people do this, clap, clap. Like they get both cheeks, they don't get their ears, they don't get their nose. Well, why is it that the brain doesn't just quickly pick up that activity and just grab the nose first? So often because it's new. Anything that's new, the brain skews what we're doing. There's all types of different levels of effort. And we know that people that learn something fast aren't necessarily the people that rise to the top in sport and business. It's actually the people that persevere through the pain of the complexity of trying to get the skill set. Now, I know a lot of you, I'm sure, look, I've had brothers that were so talented. But you know, just because you're talented doesn't mean you rise to the top. And I've seen so many kids that are so good at sport not become good at anything in the long run, simply because, you know, you give them a basketball and they shoot it. You give them a tennis racket and they hit it in the sweet spot. Give them a footy and, oh my goodness, they just kick straight. But these children often don't appreciate what it takes to hone the skill. And therefore, when it gets difficult, they drop out of that sport and go to something else where it's easy. And I want you to think about that whether you've done that in your own life. Have you dropped out of something simply because, oh, it's just hard? And yet, hard makes you smart, and hard also makes you successful, because repetition and perseverance brings a really rapid increase eventually. Because at the beginning, it doesn't feel like you're going anywhere when you're learning. So we're going to redo it, but this time we're going to focus on the nose, and we're just going to not think of anything else, just the nose, all right? Just the nose. Here we go. And grab the nose with the right hand. Grab it with the left. Come on, grab it with the right. Grab it with the left. Now just do it as fast as you can. Go. So notice, speed is not the problem. You can find your nose. Good. So we do the claps to give you rhythm and pattern, because when we're putting a high performance habit into someone's life, we have to find somewhere to put it. So we're just doing the claps for rhythm. So here we go. Slap, clap, grab your nose. Slap, clap, grab your nose. Here we go. Slap, clap, grab your nose. Slap, clap, grab your nose. Here we go. That's good. Come on. Now, notice, it doesn't take long to get everyone 75% right. Slap, clap, grab. And when you think you're ready, you add the other hand. If you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, you're right. When you think you're ready, you add the other hand. Come on, 5. Here we go. 4, 3, 2. Last one. Here we go. That's great. Great effort. Good energy, good focus. Now, how many of you just got better by focusing on your nose? Did anyone feel like they got better? Yeah, that's interesting. Because, I mean, look, usually about 70 to 80% get better, but some people get worse. And why do some get worse? Because they already had a pattern that worked for them. And this is really important knowledge when we're coaching one another in the workplace. When we're trying to help other people just do better. Because what we often do is we don't actually talk about or recognize the pattern they're already following and what they're doing well. What we do is we want to tell them what we want, how we want it done, and we want them to do it our way. Huge problem with high-performing people. They're entrepreneurial, they think differently, they've got multiple ways of doing things. And one of the key things, if you're going to actually help one another to grow, and this could be your spouse we're talking about, that you're trying to help someone at home, one of your kids, you're trying to help a brother, is that you've got to actually say what you see. So whatever you've seen them do well, you've got to say it. You've got to recognize it, you've got to acknowledge it. And why we do that is because then you earn the right to coach. You earn the right to contribute to the improvement. But most people just think, oh, we just tell them how we want things done. Like, no, we actually have to connect to their soul. And their soul is their mind, their will, and their emotions. And we need to connect to that. We connect to that by acknowledging all the good that we see. So a little bit like a relationship that's going to thrive. I don't know if you've ever seen the stats on a number of positive comments versus negative to have a stable relationship. You know, we do lots of research on relationships, business and personal. And what we do know about personal relationships is that you need 5 positives for every 1 negative. 5. You need to have done 5 little nice statements, nice comments, nice little acknowledgements for you to have the right to be critical. And most of us just stop thinking about, gee, what about the 5? Those little things that you do every day. Because pretty much a great relationship, there's probably 20 tiny habits that makes for a great relationship. Long-term, fantastic. They've studied all the marriages that work, and they can go 20 little things, and these are the things that make the relationship flourish. So they're called high-value habits. They're very significant. Then what we're trying to do is go, well, if we're not doing high-value habits, what are we doing? What are we doing? And I want to point this out in relationships, because if I'm going to teach you how to coach yourself into high performance, firstly, you have to see what you do to others. Because usually what we see ourselves doing to others is the way we think. That's what we do. But we can change that when we become aware, wow, I need a 5-to-1 ratio. You pretty much would help yourself by having a 5-to-1 ratio as well. But most people just don't think like that in their own head. They don't stop and go, oh yeah, you're doing this part right. So just when we were coaching and we were trying to just do the first attempt, what did you say? Did you say, come on, persevere, concentrate, get the nose? Were you giving yourself a strategy? The way you spoke to yourself is so important, because what we're finding about the way we teach one another and teach ourselves is that it's not always the content that matters so much, it's the tone. It's how we say what we say. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you just to do a couple of things to help you relax. So firstly, I'd just like you to scrunch up your shoulders, scrunch up and relax, and then scrunch again, scrunch and scrunch again. Yep, scrunch again. Because just this tension, relax, tension, relax, does actually relax the whole body. It's the contrast that really works. So anytime you're at work and you're feeling tight, then a few scrunches and hold it as long as you need to just get relax. Because that's how we feel sometimes, even in relationships. What we're having, it's like if you're on the phone and you're feeling really stressed with who you're talking to, it doesn't hurt to do a little scrunch. It's like, all right, come on. Because we're trying to help ourselves to bring out the very best of us, and we're trying to get the right tone. And tone is so important because irritation shows really easily. Does anyone have someone in their life that just shows their irritation really quickly? Does anyone have someone like that in their world? Yeah, it just spills out of them. That's right. And sometimes you can still have a mother or father, even though you're grown up, that just shows irritation with everything. It's a habit. It's a practiced behaviour. And I want to talk to you about the practiced behaviours that are going to help you excel. Because when you realise, wow, if I just added 5 new behaviours over the next 5 years, that could transform my career. That could transform the way I do business. Just 5. And this is a very interesting bit of work that Craig Groeschel shared, that we know that if you add 1 high-value behaviour and you keep it for the whole year, it means you persevere, you keep the habit, and then the following year you add another one. So often we call it habit stacking, where you stack habits that are really effective on top of each other. You sort of link one to the next. But just adding 1 this year and 1 next year, over 10 years we have found that people who add 1 high-value behaviour and keep it and then add another, literally their business life and their personal life transforms. That just sounds too easy, doesn't it? It's just 1. It's just 1. And here's the problem. We start something and we do it for 3 months and then we stop. We do it for a little while. We go, oh yeah, what about we do, come on, let's everyone get up. We'll all go for a walk after dinner. Come on, let's get up early and go for a walk. Like whatever we do, we start it, but we don't make it a way of life where it stays for the long term. So we've got to figure out, how can we do this? How can we get ourselves to do these top 10, top 20? So I want you, please, maybe just to put in the chat box, what do you think is one of your best habits? You know, it's a keeper. It's a lifetime habit. It's one of your best ones. What do you think it is? It'd be great to have a little look at what we come up with. A high value habit for you. Is it a high value habit in your relationship at home? Is it a high value habit in the way you parent? Maybe you have some really good rituals in your family life. Maybe you have really good rituals in the time you go to bed and get up, or you know, the amount of hugging that you do. I wonder what your high value behaviours are. It's an interesting one, isn't it? What do you do? What's the high value behaviour in your world?
Kiss wife when she gets up.
Yeah, kiss wife when she gets up. And some wives would love the kiss and some would like a cup of tea. And here's the other side of the high value behaviours, is figuring out what is it that's really fruitful for those around you. So we have high value behaviour for ourselves. So we need to figure this out. There's value, but there's behaviours that we need to do just for us. There's behaviours that we need to do for our relationship. There's behaviours we need to do for creating the future, for even establishing, all right, how do I see the future?
That's the only one so far.
I'm wondering if you could start thinking to yourself, all right, what do I not want in my future? You know, that's the hardest thing to do sometimes, is to set goals, but the easiest thing to do is to write what you don't want. So come on, have a little go. Get a pen and paper. What do you not want? You know, I don't want a heart attack. I don't want a broken marriage. I don't want a child on drugs. I don't want to be unfit. I mean, think about it. What is it you don't want? I don't want to have a business that fails. I don't want to be lonely. Yeah, I don't want to be poor. I don't want to be bored. I don't want to have no friends. You know, I coach quite a lot of high-level businessmen, and I'm always working, once they're past 50, on friendships with them, relationships with their kids. We're making sure that we don't lose what we worked for in these years, that we actually get strategic about, there's relationships that we need that help us to flourish. And sometimes we just let them go. We don't put any energy in. We go, just got to go back to it. And it's like there's seasons of life. There's seasons when you've got little kids, often families, you know, tuck in together, and they're seeing less of their friends, or they're seeing friends who have exactly the same situation as them, you know, 2 or 3 little kids. So we need, yes. I'm thinking that one of the best high value behaviours that I have taught across the business world is 3 o'clock squats. So I'm just wondering, while you're thinking, I know some of you are writing, I would love you to try with me 3 o'clock squats. Now, what is 3 o'clock squats? That is that at 3 o'clock every afternoon, you do 10 squats. Doesn't sound too hard, does it? And better still if everyone in the office is doing them, because it's a bit of a laugh and we chat while we're squatting. And then I know some companies, they're up to 30 and 40 squats at 3 o'clock because they have been working on this for years. So I'm going to challenge you, please push your seats back. I want you to get out of your seat. Come on. We're going to do squats. You're just going to do 10. I know it won't kill you. Come on. If you're only up for 2, then we'll let you stop. No one will know. You ready? Hands out in front. Keeps your balance. That's all right. I mean, you can go as slow as you like. You can go slow. That's right. It doesn't matter the speed. But also, if you need to wake up, it's really good to go fast. That's right. Come on. That's it. And pump it out. And we want you to start to feel like you're a little bit breathy with it. Yeah. Come on. And the lower you go, the better it is, because it gets your calf muscles as well as your quads. It's like, come on, this is good for us. That's it. I love the fact that you are willing to participate. Maybe just 2 more before you sit down. Come on. All right, have a seat. Good. At 3 o'clock, most afternoons, people think that they need coffee or food. What they really need is movement. For most of us, when we get effective all day, then we've got to find which little habits help us be effective between 3 and 6. Because a lot of us are working and doing a lot of stuff done between 3 and 6 in the afternoon. So if you stop at 3 and go, all right, high performance, what does it look like? Looks like squats at 3 o'clock. Now it's one thing, and the reason we use squats is because squats is a really large muscle group in the body. And because it's a large muscle group, pumps more blood to the brain. It just works really effective and fast. But you can actually just do something as simple as your chair. You can get on your chair, and this is a high chair, so it's not quite as effective, but you can just stand and sit in your chair. And that is very stable, it's very safe. But if you just stand off your chair and sit back down, that particular habit gets you ready for squats, because everything I know about well-being and flourishing, movement is a part of it. So I just want to put some context around the high-value behaviour of a squat, is that what we know when we study high-performance people in an office environment, if you're working, is that they take a break every hour, and we usually try to get them to take a 3-minute break. Some people take it every half an hour, because if they're doing really intense work and high concentration, then better for them to stop and take 2 minutes every half an hour, and particularly for stretching. One of the key things we want is for people to stretch. So we want them to stretch this way. We want them to get the shoulder blades back, because we're sitting at desks. So we're wanting to put our hands behind our back. We want stretching out this way. Excellent. We also want stretching this way, where we just literally pull the arm across the chest. You can do this while you're on the phone. Nearly. Just to simply stretch the arm across the chest. And think about it, even in your chair, if you're sitting, you can literally do a little twist. Like just twist in the chair. And we know that every one of these things that you do actually helps your brain to work better for the next hour. So even though we might take a few minutes out every hour, we actually find that people are far more productive. Like we're talking 20 to 40% more productive, because they take little breaks and do little stretches. And some need the stretch, and by the afternoon, then you need the heart to be pumping. I don't know, how many of you on the screen you're pretty fit? Who's really fit? Give me a wave. You're a very fit character. And and if you just think you're reasonably fit, just maybe give me, yeah. Okay, good. So what we've learned from Michael Mosley is that if you need to get fit, and we need to get you fit for what's coming ahead, if you're an entrepreneur, you need to have a regime that enables you to flourish. And one way is to get you fit. We get you fit 20 seconds at a time. Who likes that idea? Who likes 20 seconds? Yeah, like it's just not that hard. And I know, because a big part of what I teach is incremental growth and incidental exercise. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to add little tiny changes, tweaks is what I call it, because when we're tweaking people's behaviour, it's relatively simple to do, and it's fun. And it's the same if I'm working with a high-performing tennis player, if I'm working on their serve, and, even, I'm sure Ash Barty can serve a double fault. Anyone can serve a double fault. So what we do is we work on little tiny details. Maybe it's the shift of body weight. Maybe it's just the angle of the elbow, the height. Maybe it's just the grip on the racket. We're just looking at little things, but we never change major things unless we have a major break. We're just tweaking. So I want you to be thinking about yourself and others all the time. For high performance, do little tweaks with one another. How can we tweak that? And that also means that we pick up behaviour that's sabotaging us or our relationship. We pick it up as we go. We don't just let it flow. We make a little comment like, oh, that's harsh. Got people in your world that are just a bit brusque and hard and bit critical, and sometimes rather than coming back with anything, you just go, oh, see that little, oh, that's harsh. And the reason is that I'm not looking to create extra conflict. I'm looking to create a recognition that we need to change a behaviour. And you think about it, because I'm working with people that sometimes, it's a high-performing football team, basketball team, soccer team, that those people in the team environment, and they're all really good, can sometimes forget how important it is to literally connect with one another and what that little habit, high-value habit is with connection. And one is just to take out some of the things that you're doing, just coming out of your mouth, but they're just not thoughtful. They're just not building anything. So we'll come back to that, because what we're looking, high value behaviours, which ones are working for you, and what's lacking? What new behaviours could you really benefit from to get this incredible exponential growth in your life? Goals. I had you to write down what you don't want. So once you've written a list of what you don't want in your life, you just flip it over and go, all right, what's the opposite to this? What could I begin writing? And you know what? Half the time we don't know what we want, but we start writing something because we know writing it down gives the brain a chance to process, do I really want it? Is this important to me? All this little conversation is going on in your head all the time. But the actual writing of a goal, not just the thinking about it. It's good to discuss goals with family. Ask your partner, your children, your parents, your friends. What are you thinking about? What does 2022 look like for you? What are you hoping for? Just even that. Like, change the conversation from, something that's superficial to, what are you hoping for next year? What are you trying to move towards? Got anything in your heart that you'd really like to see happen next year? Because all those things are the chance to stimulate the thinking around where am I going and why? Because that's the big issue. And why? What's in it for me if I'm heading for that goal? Well, certainly for most of us, we don't want to be poor. We certainly want to have a decent income. But we also got to figure around that, for whom? For what? For what does it look like? And what does an ideal 3 months for my family look like? Just simple. I know I did some work with a gentleman, and I realised with all he's an extremely high performer, very good at everything he did. I said, I think the one thing you need to do is I think you need to put in just 10 minutes of kicking the footy with the 8-year-old. He said, 10 minutes. I said, yeah, 10 minutes, kicking the footy, but just every second day, like, four times a week, 10 minutes of kicking the footy. And he said, oh, that wouldn't be enough to make my 8-year-old good. I'm like, yeah, it's not about being good. It's about the 10 minutes that you spend kicking the footy. And so we laughed about it, we talked about it, and he began, and we watched the transition over the 6 months in him, let alone what happened to his son and the relationship with his son. 10 minutes. Because I don't know about you, there's a lot of times kids are like, Dad, what do you do? Dad. It's like, oh, no, not right now. It's like, no, have something. And so this is a key for you. We've got to find what rituals really matter for you. What are the high-value behaviours that need to become a habit? But the habit really is to have a ritual in your family, your children, or your marriage, or with friends. What's the ritual? What's the ritual, and what will it take to create a ritual? What are the best rituals in your life right now? Do you have a Sunday night meal with all the family, or do you have Friday night fish and chips and all the friends come over? What are the rituals that are about people, not about work, not about money? They're the rituals that make life flow. The rituals that give some pattern and rhythm on which we can put other things around it. What are the best rituals in your family life? What are the best rituals between you and your partner? I'm going to give you one little inside tip. my husband and I, we were doing some marriage counselling, different seasons in our life. We've been married 31 years, which is always awesome. But we decided when we got married, we married a little bit later, and we said, you know what? I just don't want a mediocre marriage. I've seen what a mediocre marriage looks like. I don't want one. I want a high-performing marriage. I want a great marriage. I want a fabulous marriage. And we used to talk about this. And we said, all right, I wonder what that looks like. And we just started to look at what are the rituals that we need to keep in our marriage for it to be an exciting marriage. A marriage that was always great to come home to, or a marriage that we're doing things together. And I want you just to write a word down to describe your marriage right now, if you've got one, or if you've got a long-term relationship. What's a couple of words that describe that relationship? What does it feel like right now? Because remember, we're just in a season. I think every 5 years it's a new season. We're always changing. What are we doing? What's some words to describe that relationship? You know, I love it when some people go, oh, it's hot. It's a hot relationship. It's like, it's a happy relationship. It's, you know, we're best friends. Good. For some people, that's aspirational. All those. It's figuring out, well, where am I at? And this is why you need to write down where you're at, how to describe it, because you cannot change what you cannot acknowledge. So when I'm trying to shift someone from there to there, you cannot move that distance until you acknowledge what's happening here. What's happening right here, right now? What does it look like, feel like, taste like, smell like? Yeah, what does it look like? We need to acknowledge that. That's what enables us to go up. So you need to have regular check-ins, I'm going to say. For those of you that, again, business owners, because my husband and I have built a business together. He was an engineer and I was a sports psychologist, but we are in the people development business. And you can imagine the changes we had to make and adapt, and we're very different because opposites attract, and then you spend the rest of your life learning how to live together. So I love that about relationships, is that there's the challenge to take something and make it even better. And one of the reasons that business owners need to do this is because sometimes the engine room of their energy and their capacity and their risk-taking comes from the solidarity in their relationship. When you've got a steady, stable, you know, I'm coming with you. It's like my husband says, he says, if you're leaving, I'm coming with you. It's like we laugh, we go, yes, it's solid, it's strong, and we're always working on that. It's like, all right, how do we keep talking about it and growing it? Because it grows the ability to grow the business. And that's one thing that people forget. Sometimes they focus so much on their business that they forget that the reason they're building the business for the family, that they've stopped doing all the little things in the family life that actually makes them feel like they're successful and thriving. Because, you know, honestly, in the end, no one looks back and goes, how much did I earn? They look back and go, what was life like in my home? What was life like with my kids or my partner? And you know, if you've blown out a marriage, don't beat yourself up. Just go, what's everything I've learned from what's happened so far, and what am I taking into the next relationship? Because I'm a great believer is, hey, you get to start fresh every day. No matter what's happened in life, no matter what you've messed up. Who's made a few really dumb financial decisions besides me? Anyone else done that? Anyone taken some risks that were, yeah, like, wow, we went out there, but hey, but you know, it's just money. Sometimes it comes and goes versus relationships. We want them to be strong, steady. We don't want them to hit walls. So let me just show you one more thing to show you the training factor that I use. So could I get you just to stand up for 1 second? Stand up. I want to show you, bend your knees to 45 degrees. So we're not squatting this time, we're just staying stable. Knees are bent 45 degrees, and as you do this, you can actually, oh, can't take that off, there's a mic in the way, is that as what you're doing, if you just take it a little bit further down the camera, Cole, is that the knees, it's bent, this is putting, a lot of pressure here on this muscle group. Now, this is called pain. This is what we do when we train, we go to the pain zone. But when we're going to be excellent, we go 10% beyond pain. So just go 10% lower than pain. Yeah, That's called agony. Come back 10%. Isn't pain easy after agony? Oh, come on, he's not convinced. Down one more time, down one more time. Just feel that, feel what agony feels like. See, I'd like to say I'll talk to you for the next 5 minutes with you in this position, but I know you can't hold it. So back 10% and you realise, pain is better than agony. Shake your legs out, give your legs a big shake. That's it, take a seat. What is the purpose of pain? Well, pain, I think a lot of you have heard the expression, no pain, no gain. But seriously, that's not very motivational. No pain, no gain. The actual expression that it was taken from is no train, no pain, no gain. No train, no gain. And what you do when you go into training, you actually travel through the pain zone, because training is actually taking us beyond what we can do comfortably. It doesn't matter whether it's a relationship skill or a business skill or a goal setting skill or a squats or a running skill. Everything is just discomfort. We decide what we're going to train for. We recognise, well, here's the gain. This is what I'm going for. This is the goal. And there is going to be a little pain on the journey in there. What we don't want is we don't want to invite stupid pain into our life. All right, and I'm sure, I've got to say, I think lawyers help us often from not engaging with stupid pain. Looking for wisdom, getting the advice up front, learning what you need to know before you get into a situation. I'm so grateful for experts. A big part of, I believe, the success in my world has been because I recognise I've got a little window of expertise and I get the help of those who can tell me what I don't know. Just thank you to Sharrock Pitman for even putting this on, really too, for just people in this time to go, yeah, let's just stop and think about what helps me to thrive, what helps me to dive, what helps me to go up, up and away. And they're these little things where we start going, yeah, wow. Here's a little tip. Don't take advice from people more messed up than you are. That's right. Get some advice from the people who know what they're doing. And just be thinking about it. All right, what advice do I need legally? What advice do I need with money? What advice do I need with my marriage? Parenting, I've got to say, I love the fact we've got a parenting program on right now. Excellent. We are not experts. We're all amateurs. Great to get advice on parenting and on health. And some of you've got physios and chiros, all the different people that we've got to support us. Don't be afraid to ask for help. All types of counselling is fruitful because it means that you're saying, there's wisdom in many counsellors and it's good to get advice. It's trying to figure out, what do I need to do here? So let me just give you a couple of tips on some aspects. I think that one of the big aspects in life that creates more problems for you than anything else are your words. So everyone just grab your tongue with your left hand. Yep, they say it's your cleanest hand, but let's not debate it. Grab your tongue and say, I'm an influential leader with great integrity. Go. I'm an influential leader with great integrity. See, it's a slippery little rascal and it's really hard to hold your tongue. And if we're going to be people that have greater impact and influence next year, we need to figure out, wow, I can build an incredible bridge towards people with my words, or I can build a wall. And if I'm going to fast track an athlete, I'm going to change their words first. Because when we change our words, we change our whole world. Because what we say to ourselves and to others is building the future. And sometimes it's hard to actually get people to admit what they say to themselves. So we get them to start writing it down. All right, I was watching, the high jumper in the Olympics, and she journaled between every jump. And I could see, that what awesome training. Take it out of your head and put it on the paper. For most of us, at the end of every day, it would be a very good practice to just write down, here's 2 problems that I've confronted today, and here's 3 things I'm grateful for. We do know that the gratitude practice is life-changing, and that if you will actually recognise and say out loud what you're grateful for, you go to bed happier and you wake up happier. And if you've never done this with your children, like for me, I grew up in a faith background, so we would pray going to bed at night and we would say, thank you, God, for, and we would say things. And I just realised as an adult what a powerful practice that was. So get your children and yourself to get in the habit over dinner. Oh, 2 things I'm grateful for today. Just have it as part of a conversation, because it changes the atmosphere in the home and it changes the atmosphere in the heart, which is more important. Because, you know, we're taking the information in here, but the stuff that settles and stays in our life, it's like it's at the core of us. I really believe that all the issues of our life flow from here. But we often have to start with the words. What are the words that we're speaking? How do we find those words? So I'm going to give you a couple of little fun ones. These are really helpful, okay? If you get really, really angry and you're not good at controlling your tongue, I want to give you a word to say, all right? So I found this one. I'm driving along. I've got 2 little kids in the car seat. Someone cuts in front of me and a little spray of words came out. And then my children repeated it just perfectly. I thought, oh yeah, this isn't working for my family. And I thought, we need to change those words. I thought, what can I say when I'm really angry? And I came up with the word fascinating. Look at that driver. Isn't he fascinating? Now notice, 4 syllables. A good expressive word. Everybody say fascinating. Go on. Fascinating. Say it a few times to yourself. Fascinating. Now just think about it. Do you live with anyone in your family who's fascinating? Any of your extended family that are fascinating? Do you have any fascinating clients? You see, the word is not to be sarcastic or cynical. It's not to have a hard edge. It's meant to be light relief. And that's what we do. We have a little habit that takes the anger out by using a word that just clicks you over. So as soon as something goes wrong, I go, fascinating. And then it gives me somewhere to go with that anger. How many of you could utilise that word? Would it be helpful? Yeah. Now let's get another phrase that this is really we use with athletes, but I think this one's awesome in the office. So if I'm teaching somebody to speak well to themselves, but they're messing up on the sports field, then the first 4 words that need to come out of their mouth are these 4 words. That's not like me. So this is what we call a personal correction. That's not like me. But if you notice, it's encouragement and correction in the one phrase. That's not like me. So I mess up and I go, that's not like me. And then you start to realise that you can do it for other people. So someone else around you messes up and the first reaction is, oh, Mitchell, that's not like you. And it's like, what a nice way to be corrected. That's not like you. Andre, that's not like you. It's like, if we catch someone, my goodness, straight away we're saying, you're better than that. And this is a way that we find ourselves, we train the phrases that pay. That's what I call it. You've got to find a series of phrases that pay in your vernacular to be able to respond in a really useful, productive way when your emotions are out of control. So fascinating is for anger, and that's not like me is for frustration. And that's not like you is for simple correction. Because, you know, you could listen to a group of people all just having a conversation they shouldn't be having, and all you need to say to one of them is, Genevieve, that's not like you. And you just watch everyone just, oh, yeah, right. See, because we're looking for little ways to just tweak the conversation, to change the atmosphere. So another phrase that we need to use, well, probably twice as much as we already do, is thank you. And I want you to double the number of thank yous. We know that what people want to hear at the end of the day is thank you. But I don't mean thank you. I mean, just say thank you to us as much. But you've got to remind yourself, and you've got to put a sign up somewhere. Thank you by 2. Double the thank yous. These are the little aspects that are going to make everything change. And I know the power of words because I have watched it in athletes, in business people, in marriages. You change your words, you change the whole trajectory of your future. And I tested this out because I was speaking to a very big crowd in the USA, And I had thought that it would be a good idea to explain to the Americans that words are like boomerangs. And I was just explaining that was about 10,000 in a basketball stadium, you know, where they sit all the way up the walls. And so I'm explaining to them, words are like boomerangs, and what you throw out with your mouth, if it doesn't hit the target, it comes back at you. So if you throw out compliments, that's, you say what you see. Compliments boomerang back at you. If you throw out encouragement, encouragement is when you just give a bit of words that put courage into someone else. You throw out encouragement, it's amazing how it boomerangs back and they encourage you. Smiles, I mean, that's definitely a boomerang. You throw out a smile and they boomerang back. And respect. When you literally say to people, please, thank you, may I, it's amazing how respect boomerangs back at you. I'm doing this in front of the Americans and they start to chant, throw it, throw it, throw it. I looked at my husband, he's in the front row, and he looks up at me and all the blood drains out of his face. I thought, don't look at me like that, I'm not going to throw it. Besides, I had never thrown a boomerang before, I just knew that you did that action. I'd seen it on the telly. And I'd only paid $7 at the airport for a bit of painted wood. Look, I knew it really wasn't going to fly. But the Americans thought the idea was just brilliant. And they stood up in the stadium, stomped their feet, clapped their hands and throw it, throw it, throw it. And the place resounded in the noise and I panicked. I just stood there. I'm shaking my head, my body. I'm trying to tell them they've got to stop. You're taking up my time. And the next thing I knew, it just launched out of my hand. And everybody went dead silent. Everyone's head just went up. And we all watched as the boomerang went over the crowd. And nobody was more surprised than me when it started to come back at me. It did the biggest loop in the stadium and someone 7 rows on the opposite side caught it. I could have killed somebody. Have you ever known something's really dumb and done it a second time? I tried to figure out, why did I throw it? And then I realised the crowd is irresponsible. And here's the challenge in life, is that everyone around you may be irresponsible, but what makes the future better for those of us that are trying to build something unique is that we have to know what we're throwing out. We have to know what we're offering, why we're offering it. We've got to have goals that have reasons and benefits behind it, and we've got to have high performance habits that actually enable us to navigate the pathway of risk of business and then arrive at the end and be able to say, I did the best that I could with what I'd been given at the time. And I'm very grateful. Very grateful to hang out with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lisa. That was terrific. Excellent. I can see lots of applause. Everyone's on mute. Lots of applause, I think. I'll just get this screen back on just a moment. We're just about at time, everybody, but does anyone have a question you'd like to put in the chat while we've got Lisa? The things that stood out to me were the importance of small habits can be so, they can be little things that can be so powerful, can't they? But they need focus and to be proactive. They're not going to happen by themselves.
Mitchell, can I say to if they would like to get little tips from me, I actually create a little 90-second video and send it out on a regular basis. If they would love to sign up, I give them 90 seconds every, sometimes fortnight or month, just giving tips on how we can have a high-performing life. It's lisaspeaks.com is the website, and would happily give them 12 months for free if they would like to sign up.
Oh, that's terrific. Very generous. Thanks, Lisa. Fantastic. Great to see thank yous in the chat too. Thank you very much. Well, it is probably about time we wrap up. So before we do come to a close, some of you have been to our events before, have been the winners of Lucky Door prizes. And this time around, Lisa's also generously provided some copies of her books, Mood Maker and Life Lifter. And we also have a couple of copies of David Sharrock's book, Fighting for Enterprise Success. through the eye of the tiger. So the good news is you don't have to worry about putting your business card in the box. We've done a random draw of today's attendees, and I'd like to congratulate Caroline Anderson and Trang Fung, who winners of Lisa's books, and Kim Shodham and Ming Zhu, winners of David's book. So congratulations, everyone. We'll get those out to you in the next few days. While we're on the topic of books, a quick plug, if you're looking for a bit more detail on how to maybe adopt a systems approach to help drive excellence and high performance in your business or organisation, can I recommend to you David's book, Fighting for Enterprise Success Through the Eye of the Tiger. You can get it in a hard copy and as an ebook as well, with lots of templates and samples and tools that we've developed in our own business that you may be able to find useful and adapt. And just head to the web there for some more details. So it's time to wrap up. Lisa, thank you again very much for being with us today and for giving us so many thoughtful and insightful things to think about. Not only in our business lives, but also in our personal lives too. And it is useful, I think, sometimes to stop and take a moment and catch your breath and think about these things and things we want to adapt in our lives. So thank you very much. Thank you, Samuel, for the legal spotlight, and of course to Anna from our office for all her hard work organising the event. There's a lot of hard work that goes on behind the scenes to organise these, even when they're online. So thank you very much, Anna. Finally, our next event we're aiming for March 2022. It sounds like a long way away, but it's not really. So we'll have more details about the venue, whether it's in person, online, and our speakers very soon. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, we hope you stay well and stay safe, and have a very happy Christmas and New Year holiday time. And remember, always gaze at your business through the eye of the tiger, and you never know what might leap out at you. So we hope to see you again soon, and have a great day. Thank you. You never know what might leap out.
Bye, you lovely people. Lovely hanging out with you.
Thank you.
I hope you got some lunch.
Thank you.